Hi there, I'm Stephen Petasky on Brian's show today, and we talked a lot about short-term rentals, luxury short-term rentals, how you carve your niche in this industry, better travel, better experience for the homeowners, and touched on luxury, and whether it's accessible luxury, luxury, ultra luxury. So it was a great conversation today.
Welcome to the Rental Property Owner and Real Estate Investor Podcast, brought to you by the Rental Property Owners Association, where real estate investors have found success since 1968. I'm your host, Brian Hamrick from Hamrick Investment Group. This episode is sponsored by Green Property Management, managing everything from single-family homes to apartment complexes in the West Michigan area. Find out more at greenpropertymgt.com. And RCB and Associates, helping real estate investors and small business owners navigate the complex world of health insurance and Medicare benefits at rcbassociatesllc.com. Hello and welcome to episode 494. Luxury real estate is evolving. And my guest today, Stephen Petasky, is leading the charge. As founder and CEO of the Luxus Group, he's redefining high-end vacation home ownership through innovative co-ownership models, managing 100 million plus in luxury properties across 6 countries. From restoring historic estates in Italy to leading $1 billion plus in development like the Four Seasons Las Vegas, Stephen is making luxury real estate more accessible while maintaining top-tier quality. Recognized as one of Canada's top 40 under 40, he's here to share how investors can unlock new opportunities, navigate short-term rental challenges, and create high-end experiences at scale. Stephen, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started investing in this space.
18 years ago, we founded the company, my wife and I, and it kind of was born out of a problem of our own. My wife was pregnant with our first of 2 children. And at the time we were just debating about what travel looks like with a family. And the biggest thing that I think that families and all people right now are looking for is certainty. And unfortunately back then, unless you're staying at a hotel, which isn't, ideal scenario when you're having a new baby, it was, you want hotels always provide, what you're going to get. It's one of the great things of having a hotel. We needed size. We wanted a kitchen. We wanted extra bedrooms. So really you're down to a couple options. You could go to VRBO and rent. And this is 06, 07. So this is like pre-Airbnb days. It didn't even exist yet. And there wasn't really much about reviews and ratings. It was very hard to know if what you're paying for and you see online was actually what you're going to experience when you get to the home. And so as a new parent, it's pretty anxious. We don't really know what to expect. And so we said, well, we can't do that. And we can own our own property, but we missed the opportunity for variety. We really wanted variety for the kids to experience different things. So we started a co-ownership group where we raised $3.5 million from 18 friends and family, which was kind of wild. We were in 2 different careers at the time. We bought a place in Maui, a place in Scottsdale, and a place in Western Canada, like a ski summer property. And it was like a perfect scenario. So we had our beach property, we had our golf desert property, and we had our ski summer property. And what we didn't expect to happen, though, even though we had kind of a bigger vision for it, is it really snowballed. And we, for about 7-8 years, it grew pretty quickly, ended up raising roughly $100 million, bought 50 properties around the world. And we started to explore Caribbean, Latin America, Europe through Tuscany, Italy. And it was a really exciting run. And we've since shifted the business still. And I think what we found as a traveler within the group, again, kind of born out of our own, personal challenges, was people crave certainty. They want to know what they're going to get on the other side. And so we've since actually right in the final process of exiting that business, and we're launching a new version because the only way to access those properties was you had to be an investor and put in multiple 6 figures to be a part of that group. Now we said, what if we just took the best of hotel world and the best of Airbnb and apply it collectively? So I call it a branded vacation rental experience and that the world can enjoy. And so just recently, the last year, we've launched a new program. So it's still Luxus Vacation Properties, the original brand name. And just, Luxus is the Latin word for luxury. So we'll talk a little about luxury later. There's different levels to luxury. And now anyone around the world can travel to our properties, but they know when they get there, they have a very specific brand standard. So again, hotelier meets vacation rental. So they know what type of sleep they're going to get. They know what the kitchen looks like. They know how the remote controls work, and they know how the bathrooms are set up. Those are kind of the 4 main pillars of frustrations when people travel to homes. And we've been able to create a standard universally across the portfolio, whether you're booking a 6-bedroom villa in Italy or a 2-bedroom condo in Maui, you know what you're going to get. And we're trying to kind of carve out a niche of creating consistency, familiarity, and certainty within the industry. So that's the problem we're trying to solve now.
That's really an interesting background and story. And it strikes me that it began with you solving the problem of traveling with young children, which I know, my son is 18. So, 18 years ago, we had a baby too. And you don't want to stay in a hotel. You want to stay somewhere with a kitchen. And you're right, Airbnb wasn't around. It was VRBO. And I think it was actually called something different at that point. But it sounds like from that challenge, you built what to me sounds like a timeshare system with friends and family. Is that would that be an accurate description? Like, let's go out, buy these properties. We can all share them and own them amongst ourselves.
When you looked at the industry back there, shared ownership, there were timeshares, and timeshares isn't really shared ownership. It's you buy a deeded time, but you don't actually own the bricks and mortar. So we kind of took the best of maybe what existed in the luxury timeshare market, what existed in the second home ownership market, and what existed in a co-ownership market, and created this private equity fund. So you truly own the bricks and mortar as an investor, and thereby participated in the appreciation of those bricks and mortar over a period of time. Unlike timeshares don't. I mean, they trade because there's 50 to 60% commission. So quite often timeshares has a bit of a negative connotation because the values drop so significantly, but the lifestyle benefit concept is very similar. So in this scenario, we said, okay, let's make the more complicated approach and create these funds, and people invest in these funds, and then they ultimately use the properties as a fund holder. Think more like private golf club meets like real estate investment group. That was basically the concept. And then, but it was shared ownership, and so I had 1/6 of a property or a certain percentage of the fund. And as a result of that ownership, I got access to the portfolio as a whole. And then our largest portfolio had 31 properties in it. So I could travel anywhere in the world within that portfolio and enjoy, the benefits of that type of travel.
As you're buying these properties and setting up these systems, I mean, it seems like there's a lot more to it than, hey, let's all just pitch in and buy these properties and we can go visit them and we'll just make sure we schedule so we're not there at the same time. I mean, you were building a company at the same time. Did you realize that from the start? Like, this is more than just solving our immediate problem. We're going to build this company. And if so, or even if not, like, eventually you did build a company. So what were the steps you took from the beginning to really make it leveled up for success?
I'll tell you about what version 1.0 versus 2.0 that we're in now. But version 1.0 was very Wild West. We figure out as you go. And we're basically in an industry in its infancy, this version of it, this kind of private equity groups for vacation rental, vacation experiences, or co-ownership. And so when we first started, and with these 18 friends and family, and God bless them, they were all like, I believe you're going to do this. But we had no office, no team, no systems, no website, no nothing. And so we raised this initial money. We're like, oh, we got to hire a person. So let's go hire a person that has experience in hospitality, maybe operations. So we recruited from a Fairmont Hotels and Resorts, a couple of incredible team members. And one of them still with us today, 17 years later, Heather. So it's been, so that was the foundation. Then we, as we grew, all of a sudden we needed asset management. We needed concierge experience. We needed accountants, and it grew to be, 20-person operation over the course of that next decade, and was definitely not what I originally, maybe I envisioned and hoped it would, but never anticipated it would probably get to that level. And we facilitated like 20,000 vacations for that group over that period of, 16 years before we made the decision to wind it down and launch this new version. Now, fast forward to the new version. So that's, I think, where a lot of entrepreneurs start. You try to solve a problem, then you kind of figure it as you go. Custom software, there was no one had really created the wheel. So we kind of had to reinvent it for ourselves. And version 2.0 was different. We've had a lot more experience. We have more resources and a lot of time and tenure in the business. As we said, let's build this business back to front. Where do we want it to be in 7 years from now exactly? What would create the best valuation, the greatest impact? And we spent, over the course of, I guess it'd be probably 24 months before we had our first dollar of sale, and building the system to help build a more significant business. And I know it's really hard to do that. And a lot of people would be like, you just got to go. And we've done that so many times with our other businesses, our development side, and everything else. Sometimes you just have to go and learn as you go. We're now in the position now we can say, let's build a product that we know could be very well received on the world level, and let's work kind of back to front versus front to back. So a totally different experience on version 2.0 than 1.0. And we're excited about now the scale that's in front of us and what we can do with it.
What is the product? I mean, I know we're talking the higher end luxury real estate, but can you define for our audience, what the product is that you're buying, marketing, improving upon.
Under the new model now, we don't own anything. So we manage other people's assets. So let's just say you're a listener right now, and let's just say you have a home on Maui and you're renting it out. So you really have kind of three options as a homeowner that you want to rent it out. You can do it yourself and use the channels like Airbnb and VRBO. Vacation rental by owner. That's what it was all about. You can hire generally like a local property management company called MauiRentals.com. And they're usually mom and pop shops that have built a successful business. Well, some are successful, some aren't, but you know how it is. And I'm not going to say a dime a dozen, but there's lots of them. Generally, there's a lot in each market, and you can kind of choose from a local property management company. Or you can go with a national or international company like us. And there are multiple iterations. There's the big guys like the Vacasas of the world, that they go again, they manage your property, they distribute it. So they go and rent it all. But they also do take care of the management. Unfortunately, the big players haven't found great success. And there's been, there's this big bump in COVID artificially. They created a lot of new players into the market and these huge valuations, but have since ultimately reset down to kind of more realistic or below where they expect levels. So we're trying to create a boutique international version where we have our goal is to get to 500 properties in about 30, 40 markets around the world. And so people will create loyalty through us because they don't need 100 options in Maui. It'd be nice to have 10 or 20. And I've got a 1-bedroom condo to a 5-bedroom home. And then you can kind of pick your travel mission. Is it just my wife and I going for this trip? I want to be close to the beach, but I want to spend $500 a night. Or am I bringing the whole family and it's going to be an epic experience? I'm going to spend $4,000 a night. And so it's luxury is generally defined like in three categories. This is kind of, I think, a neat thing. Luxury is very much in the eye of the beholder. You can go to a 1-bedroom condo, has granite countertops and tile instead of carpet and feel it's luxury. But if you look at the definitions of it as well, as defined as they are, which is still loose, is you would call accessible luxury, and ultra luxury. And accessible luxury would be that, it could be $600,000-$700,000 to $1.5 million. I'm just going to throw rough averages. You have luxury, it's maybe a couple million to 5 million. And then you have luxury, ultra luxury be kind of 5-6 million plus. And that, again, there's no, set in stone numbers that ultimately defines that, but it's a way to look at it. So the space we're playing in is the accessible luxury to luxury space. And we'll have probably 10 to 20% of our portfolio in the ultra luxury space. But generally, we're trying to create a brand and an experience that takes care of the top 10% of income earners, not just the top 0.5% of income earners. They're the kind of the lost people. They're the lost people in the travel world. If you're spending $3,000 a night, you're going to get a great experience. But not everyone can afford $20,000 plus a week, obviously, for a vacation. You're spending $1,000 a night. You're searching yourself. You're on Airbnb. You're looking at reviews. You're looking at 5-star ratings. You're trying to determine if this is going to be a good experience for you or not. What is the host reputable? Are they super host? It's a lot of work for someone spending $5,000 to $10,000 a week. We're trying to make it easy. You book with us, you know exactly what you're going to get because we're banking on people valuing certainty. And so that's really what the product is defined as. So within that eventual 500 property portfolio, we're coming up on 20 now. We'll be growing at about 50 to 80 a year going forward. Is you got a whole mix of, within that from probably 800,000 to 5 million is kind of the sweet spot. But we have some pretty cool properties that are 6, 7, 8 million as well that will, for those that want to have the ultra luxury experience.
What is the brand? I mean, what are you getting if you book a property through your company?
The biggest thing for us is those 4 pillars. So we call it a great night's sleep, spa-like bathrooms, fully stocked kitchen, and then electronics for everyday use. So these are like the 4 kind of like key frustrating points when people travel. You book this great place, $1,000 a night, it's got some good reviews, and the linens are garbage. You don't have a good night's sleep. Or you want to make a Thanksgiving meal for your family because you book a Thanksgiving trip and they don't have a turkey baster and a cutting knife and a roasting pan. You got to go to Costco and buy all this stuff and leave it there. So these are electronics. It's a very, very big one. I can't get Dancing with the Stars on Saturday night because they don't know how their freaking remote control works because it's some complicated universal remote. And if you press one button incorrectly, the whole thing kind of shuts down on you. So we've established like global partnerships with various people in these kind of 4 pillars on the linens, the electronics, the kitchen setup. So when you go to our house, it's a 20-page list that checks everything from how many steak knives are in the drawer, what the brand of them are, what the linens are. And so every homeowner has to apply this brand standard so that our guests, when you book and you go to luxusvp.com and make a booking, those 4 pillars are there. And so no one offers that right now. No one offers that level of certainty. There are good operators that have a linen program and they do a really good job, or they have really nice bath and body soaps, but no one that's fully encompassing all those pillars into one offering and making it universal across the portfolio. So you always know what you're going to get. So that would be the brand behind it.
And the four pillars, you said four, but I heard three. You got the good night's sleep, which would be like the linens in the mattress, I'm sure. The electronics, the kitchen, and what was the fourth one?
We call them spa-like bathrooms, but just one of the nice things of a hotel is when you go to a hotel, they got great bath and body products. They have great towels. They have Q-tips, cotton swabs. They have a salon-grade hair dryer. So all these are the elements within a bathroom. And particularly for females, it's a very important part. If you're showing up to a home and you don't know if they have a good hair dryer, you're packing half a suitcase of grooming utensils when you go into these properties. So we did a partnership with Dyson. We have the Dyson Air Wrap in all the master bedrooms. It's a $500 hair utensil, which is a very loyal following from women. And so as a result, if for her, for that particular thing, if they know that's there, that is one less thing you have to be uncertain about going into it. It's like, I don't have to pack all the stuff that's going to be there. I'm going to feel like I'm in a spa. And it doesn't cost really much more for the homeowner to buy these things, but the impact is substantial for the user. So those would be the four main pillars.
I'd like to take a moment to tell you about Green Property Management. Not only do they manage everything from single-family homes to apartment complexes in the West Michigan area, they also manage my entire portfolio. So I can tell you from personal experience that their unique flat fee management style is worth a closer look. If you feel that your property isn't operating to its fullest potential, then Green Property Management can help you take a holistic approach that will save you money, eliminate your headaches, and increase your net income. And if you're a property manager interested in applying Green Property Management's model, give them a call at 1-866-95-GREEN or visit them on the web at greenpropertymgt.com. If you're thinking of leaving your W-2 job and becoming a full-time real estate investor, one of the greatest costs you must consider is healthcare for you and your family. When I made this transition myself, I found the whole healthcare insurance process to be confusing and frustrating. That's why I'm glad I met Chad Creasy at RCB and Associates. Chad is a professional health insurance agent who helps real estate investors and small business owners understand and choose their best healthcare options. And best of all, his services are covered by the insurance company and won't cost you a dime. If you live in Michigan and are expecting a change in your healthcare insurance coverage for any reason, or losing employer coverage or transitioning into Medicare, then you owe it to yourself to contact Chad Creasy at rcbassociatesllc.com.
Can we get a little more specific? Because you've given some good examples, but I'm wondering if we could dig down another level. So when you say spa-like bathroom, I think jacuzzi tub or like spa amenities in the bathroom. But do you really just mean you're going to have like all the necessities that a traveler would want? And what are some of those other necessities?
It all depends on the home. If you go to our property in Kauai, for example, you've got the hot tub and the pool and all these pieces, but specifically in the four walls of that bathroom, it's bath, body, soap, creams. If you got Q-tips, cotton swabs, those elements, you've got salon-grade hair dryer, great towels, robes. You'll feel very much like you're walking into a Four Seasons bathroom. And I say that like it is literally mimicked off a Four Seasons bathroom. And you walk in and everything feels good. It feels warm. The environment feels warm. You have all the things you need to use. You don't got to worry about doing a trip to Costco to get, all these extra things or pack them in your bag. And so that would be like the, kind of the minutia details. We even have little like QR codes beside the Dyson that explains how to work the air wrap. So if it's like, oh my God, I've always wanted one of these. This is amazing. Scan the QR code, talks about it. And, it creates like this loyalty that others doesn't exist when you just have a little $15 cheap hair dryer that barely works and you get frustrated. And these are the touch points you have on a daily basis to create frustration. And we're just trying to eliminate that.
Go into more detail on the kitchen. What exactly do you want to make sure is there? I mean, I always have to have coffee. If that's a basic level for me, but tell us what you expect.
There's like the consumables. So we were partnered with Mocha Master for our coffee pot. So we have those basically globally, unless for some reason we can't get into a certain market. So it brews an amazing cup of coffee. And then obviously we provide the grinds, beans, because it's an automatic grinder. So we have a whole coffee bar set up and it's what you're going to get around that. You have the consumables around olive oil, balsamic, salt and pepper, spice racks. So you have a lot of those things there to, there's going to be some of the basics there to start or the starting point. And then it comes to the small wares. It is as good or better than your kitchen at home. And I can say it for certain, because a lot of our homes we have are better than my home in terms of it, because we have a specific list of every pot and pan, how many forks and knives, wine glasses from red, white, martini, cocktail, plastic, water glasses for around the pool, kids cutlery for babies, playpens, booster seats. These are all the little things you put in there. And they literally cost hundreds of dollars more at the end of the day to properly stock a kitchen. But nothing's more annoying when you're hosting your friends over at your vacation property and 4 people have to drink wine out of coffee mugs because there's not enough wine glasses. And it's kind of embarrassing and it just annoys you. And it shouldn't have to, because these are really inexpensive items that should be maintained and replaced from the homeowner or the property manager that sadly not a lot do a very good job at. So that would be the depth of the kitchen. I usually joke and say it's about everything you need for a full Thanksgiving meal is there. And when you do a Thanksgiving meal, you use every flipping dish and smallware in the kitchen. And we want to make sure we're extremely well set up for that.
It drives me nuts when I stay at a place and I got a family of 4, and they just have one set of dishes for a family of 4. So now I got to run the dishwasher when it's a quarter full. Why not have 2 or 3 more sets so I don't have to wash?
Usually we double
night.
it up. Like a 3-bedroom place would end up having, say that sleeps 6, we'll have 12 place settings. So you can it's an extra 4 dishes or 6 dishes, but you don't have to do that run from breakfast or your lunch to your dinner, knowing you can work through it. So this is our 20,000 experiences and pain points and opportunities we've run through over almost 20 years of doing this. It's not something we imagined up. It's something that we've gone through. And someone says exactly what you said. I'm annoyed of running my lunch dishes to make room for dinner dishes. Perfect. Let's just have 2 full place settings, so you don't have to do that for that group size. So seems easy enough. Just honestly, no one really does it.
What about a good night's sleep? Can you go to that same level of detail for the bedroom?
Been an evolution there because we've had lots of, 20,000 sleeps, but over multiple beds, it's like 100,000 probably people have laid their heads on our beds. So we have the same linens, pillows, pillowcases, all kind of universally across. So that is a really important one. And then mattresses are defined by a certain standard. So eventually it's not like the Hyatt Heavenly bed. Eventually maybe it rolls into that as a program down the road where everyone's universally the same mattress. We test the mattress, make sure it's got to be of a certain quality, pillow top, all the various aspects it creates kind of that good night's sleep feel. We also provide in, especially city markets or noisy, like noisemakers, blackout blinds. Like there's, in some cases, eye masks. We have a lot of things that kind of, that all contribute to that good night's sleep. With Dyson, we have, there are 3 main items. Our partnership with Dyson would be the air wrap, which is the hair grooming utensil, a vacuum, which doesn't contribute to sleep, but air purifiers in the majority of our properties, unless they're like mountain properties, but for the most part, they're there. So you have a small air purifier that runs in the master bedroom that has that amazing clean air when you feel like you walk in. And so all these things contribute. And the air purifier is a big thing post-COVID. But in rental homes, it's relevant to people as like, how clean is this place? And that has in addition to taking 99.9% of the harmful air particles out and cleanses it, it's also a perception. You walk in, you just feel that it's clean, and all those things contribute to a good night's sleep.
Being in all the different locations where you have properties, how do you maintain the consistency of these standards? Do you have a strong training program for your team, the cleaners? Talk about that, the infrastructure that you've had to put in place to maintain these standards.
It's definitely a challenge, and it's something we could say that we're very good at, but only because trial and error over many, many years. So it is really about building a system and a process, which we have. And then it is hiring the right person on the ground, training them, and then making sure that they're maintaining that process consistently down, because we've had a lot of times people will move furniture because they wanted to angle the TV a little differently for movie night. Our cleaners have pictures of exactly how every living room was set up originally, where every pillow goes in what order. So they're like, oh yeah, this person moved this chair. Let's go slide it back to the original position. And it's from a cleaning standard perspective, there's kind of 2 layers of checks and balances. You have the cleaners and you have the property managers. So our people that in some cases are full-time for us, depends upon the scale of the market, and some they're part-time for us. And then they have a check and balance over and above the cleaners. And then the third check and balance is our head office asset management team that does virtual walkthroughs with them. And it's like, okay, clean looks good. Show me under the couch. And they take a FaceTime in real time, go under the couch and see dust bunnies there. They're like, you missed it. So got to talk to the cleaners. They got to move the couch and they got to clean the dust bunnies out. So it's definitely, by having multiple checks and balances, it helps. It's hard. It makes an expensive, product service delivery. But as a result, people know what they're going to get. You can charge more because people will pay more for certainty. So it took a while to establish those processes, and it's always evolving. I feel like we're at 95% and we'll never get anything better because it's constantly trying to make it better. But I think we're pretty good shape compared to the rest.
Being in the accessible luxury space, how do you determine your pricing? I mean, Airbnb, if you're just doing Airbnb, VRBO, you might do dynamic pricing based on what everyone else is charging. But knowing what I know about you now, I would imagine that you probably have a different system for determining, exactly what you're going to charge per night.
So we use a really amazing outsourced revenue management company that works with our in-house team, and they go out and they build basically like a 3-year pro forma of a property. So if you own a home in Scottsdale and you want us to rent it for you, we build your pro forma. They give you a pessimistic base and an optimistic viewpoint of what we see. And it's basically kind of a 3-year strategy. So it's a little different. You can just rely exclusively on Airbnb to price it for you. But if you do that, you're in the same playing field as everyone else. So we effectively game or hack the algorithms in a fully above board way to say, how do you create maximum visibility of that property? So, because if you're on page 1 or page 2 of Airbnb versus page 40, it is a monumental difference in terms of the visibility and resulting bookings. So first step is we build this out. There's 100 hacks. It's like, what is the first picture that shows up on your listing? What is the first wording? What is the minimum night stay? What's the rate adjustment? So when we set rates, it's actually really based on like a long-term strategy of creating initially demand for the property. Because if you get bookings, Airbnb algorithm clicks in and says, oh, this is a popular property. Let's move it up. Oh, you get a 5-star rating, which is kind of the common, everyone knows 5-star ratings and reviews help. But all these layers, how we communicate with the guests through Airbnb and VRBO can either punish or reward you in the algorithm. So we apply all these things. And year 1 basically is really about getting booking volume. So that means we may be at lower rates than what the average daily rate is out of the gate in particular against competitors or competing properties. But once you get that visibility ranked up, year 2, you start to crank up the ADRs, and year 3, you can really crank them because now your place is consistently showing in kind of the top rankings. So it's a like a machine learning continuous algorithm beating dynamic pricing system that as far exceeds anything else that's out there. And we're only 7 months into our initial process, only 2 to 3 months into this kind of system gaming. But the results have been phenomenal, and we're outperforming the market in effectively, I believe all our markets, might be a couple behind or equal, I should say, not behind in Latin America, but it's going tremendously well. So the end goal is that people are paying a little bit more than market rates, 5%, 10, 15% more for certainty, because the second component of it is that we ask people, when they book through us, a lot of people then they find out about us because when you're in the property, you're going to see Luxus everywhere. They scan a QR code, they sign up for our loyalty program, just like Marriott Bonvoy, and they start making direct bookings through us. And so we have those channels. You use the Airbnb and Verbos, they become a feeder source for our direct booking channels. And then when we book direct, it creates value. So we're always going to use the OTAs, online travel agencies, but we're also going to have direct bookings. And that's, ultimately where we believe we can create value in the business by having a very loyal following of direct bookings versus relying exclusively on those other, Airbnb and Verbos.
Which booking channels are you using? Airbnb, Verbo? Are you using all the others like Google Hotel, Expedia?
There's like 60 of them out there, but really Airbnb and Verbo account, I think, for 92% of the traffic, like across all platforms. There are some boutique ones out there that specialize in, I'm going to make this up, like men's golf retreats and, spa experiences that are a little more boutique, but there's such a small, like booking.com, for example, is a more general one, but they still only have like a few percent of the market. So really Airbnb and Verbo are the 2 key platforms, but we'll use any platform that can create business and exposure. It just comes down to just a click of the button and it's on those other platforms, but they're unfortunately, it's kind of a duopoly between those two companies that really own the market.
What about marketing? For your direct bookings, are you just driving people there, who've stayed at your property? Or are you leveraging Google and SEO and other means to bring people to book directly with you?
So it is all encompassing, but we do look at the primary channels as Airbnb and Verbo and not that we don't want to steal clients from Airbnb and Verbo. They're important partners for the growth of the business. But if someone comes to our property, has an incredible stay, and they want to move to our direct booking channel, then a lot of hosts try to back channel. So someone makes a booking and they're like, hey, here's our name, contact us directly. And actually in the algorithm can punish you if there's a phone number that goes in there, or if a booking goes and it comes off. These are things that can punish you in the algorithm. So I think hosts don't necessarily know this. So we leverage those, create ideally an undeniably better experience in the home, and leave it to the consumer to decide if they want to come to us direct, because they'll be very aware that we exist. So that's number one for sure. We also had 18 years of history. So we had thousands of people that have previously followed us that have kind of come along for the ride and now are booking directly. And then it just, from there, it's purely organic. We do SEO and some of the various aspects, but from a guest perspective, we're looking at it playing the long game. It's just over time, using the big channels, they will come through. So we average about 40% direct bookings already, which is substantially higher than the industry norm. And we don't do that by any real expensive marketing. It's really kind of comes through people having a great experience and sticking with us.
Tell our listeners and viewers how they can find out more about Luxus, or anything else you'd like to promote.
So luxusvp.com, so as in Luxus Vacation Properties. So go there. So if you are a guest looking for a great experience, check out if we have properties. And if not, we don't have them yet. We probably will have them eventually. We're more West Coast, Hawaii, Latin America. We're shifting to East Coast, Caribbean, and then eventually Western Europe. So just follow along. You can sign up for the newsletter or the loyalty program. Costs nothing, and you're just going to get little drips about kind of what we're up to as we start to grow the portfolio. So that would be the main one. And then I would say that also we have our developments division, which is, this is for ultra luxury space. This is just buying properties. If you're in the business of want a beautiful multi, 7-figure luxury property in partnership with Four Seasons, that's one other option. But I will give a shameless plug to our fishing lodge, Ena Lake Lodge. So it's enalake.com. I've started this passion project 7 years ago. Bought it from a close family friend, and it's what I would say the top fishing and outdoors experience, corporate retreats, family trips, whatever it is in Northern Canada. So just a shameless plug for that, because that's a separate thing, but you'll see it on our website, and that's something we're very, very proud of and encourage people to check it out.
What is your favorite hack or app?
I think it's going to change a lot in the next 2 months. I'm finally getting into AI. We're hiring an AI consultant, and I feel like I'll go from a hack from just like a time efficiency perspective. I switched my phone to grayscale during the day so that I can't remember the percentage, like 90% less stimulating when you open up Instagram and see it in black and white versus seeing it in color. So when I have my phone besides your texting and everything else, it's very easy to get a notification about like whatever it might be on Instagram, and you lose 5 or 10 or 15 minutes. You put it on grayscale, you'll never pick up your phone during the day. It's the most boring, uninspiring tool you'll ever use, except to reply to text. So I would say that from a hack, from a time efficiency perspective.
I love that. I'm gonna do that.
You won't believe it until you grab your phone. Instinctively, you just pick it up and look at it. You'll be like, that's boring. You put it back down and get back to work.
Wow. Okay. I think you just changed my life there. Yeah. But this has been an awesome conversation. I love what you've shared with us about the 4 pillars of affordable luxury and the luxury space that you're in. I really appreciate you getting specific with some of the brands and the number of forks and knives that you buy. I mean, that's all helpful to our listeners. And I've really enjoyed this conversation, Stephen. Thanks so much for having it with us today.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for having me today. Great conversation. Congrats on your success and how many episodes you've worked through over many, many years. Keep it going. That's great. It's great for all of us.
I want to thank everybody for listening to this episode. I'm your host, Brian Hamrick from Hamrick Investment Group, and you can find out more about me by going to higinvestor.com. That's higinvestor.com. And you can also ask questions and join us on Facebook by going to RPOA, Rental Property Owner and Real Estate Investor Podcast. This episode was sponsored by Green Property Management, managing everything from single-family homes to apartment complexes in the West Michigan area. Find out more at greenpropertymgt.com. And RCB & Associates, helping real estate investors and small business owners navigate the complex world of health insurance and Medicare benefits at rcbassociatesllc.com.
You've been listening to the Rental Property Owner and Real Estate Investor Podcast, brought to you by the Rental Property Owner Association. You can find out more at rpoaonline.org. If you enjoyed this podcast, please go to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and review.